Hello and welcome coders to the Sky Coding. So in today's video we will discuss all about the unloading. We are going to start a new topic of unloading in the Snowflake. Okay. So basically unloading is just a reverse process of the loading. In loading we are just loading the data from the external stage or the internal stage from the local machine to the stages of the internal stage, and after that we are just loading the data to the Snowflake tables. Okay, but in the unloading we are just doing the reverse process of the loading. Okay, in unloading we will just take the data from these tables of the Snowflake, and we will put them into the internal stage or the external stage, and after that suppose that we are unloading the data from the Snowflake table to the internal stage. Then after moving the data to the internal stage, we will just download that file from the internal stage into our local machine. Okay, and suppose that we are unloading the data to the external any cloud storage, then we will just unload that table data into our external stage by creating the external stage, and we can see the data from the cloud locations, or we can download from there. Okay, so this is how unloading works. Okay, it is basically a reverse process of the loading. Okay, so this is all about the loading, and unloading is suppose that loading is also possible from the internal stages as well as for the external stages for any cloud location such as AWS S3, Microsoft Azure, or the GCP. Okay, as we have covered data loading from the external stages as well as internal stages in deep. Okay, so if you haven't seen my videos for the loading, then you can visit to the description box and you can watch my those videos for data loading from the internal stage as well as for the external stage as well. Okay, so here unloading is also possible in the two ways. Otherwise you can load the data, or you can unload the data to the internal stage, or you can unload the data to the any cloud storage. Okay, so unloading can also be possible to the internal stage as well as external stage. Okay, so this is basically the introduction of the unloading. It is just a reverse process of loading. Okay, so first of all, before doing practical of unloading, before unloading the data from our tables to the internal storage or the external storage, let's first of all tell me some of the unloading options which are mentioned here. Okay, because unloading options, these are the some of the properties, or you can say options, which are available to us while doing unloading the data from the Snowflake tables to our external or internal storage. Okay, these options are available to any of these things. Okay, whether you are unloading the data to internal stage or the external storage. Okay, so this is first of all is override. Okay, and it is a boolean value, and whenever you will give override is equals to true, then suppose that you have unloaded that data to your internal stage, and your internal stage is having the same file with that name only. Okay, so whenever you will give override equals to true, then it will replace that already existing file with the new file. So that is called as overwrite equals to true. You can see here I have written here specifies to overwrite existing file. Okay, so it will just overwrite existing files if you will give this boolean value as true, or you can give the false as well according to your need. Okay, and whenever you will give single equals to boolean value true, then it will just create a single file. Suppose that let's take an example of the customer big data table. It is having a 30,000 rows. Okay, and if you are not giving this single equals to true, then it will just unload your file into the some of the partitions. It can take 10,000 rows in one file, and 10,000 in another file, and 10,000 in some other file. So by this way it will create three another separate files. Okay, so that's why you have to specify this single equals to true. Whenever you will give single equals to true, then it will just make a single file for just 30,000 rows. Okay, so this is a thing you can give is single equals to true. Okay, you can see here specifies whether to generate a single file or multiple files. Okay, if you want to generate a multiple files, then you can give single equals to false, then it will just generate a multiple files of its size. Suppose that 10,000 rows in one, 10,000 in another. Okay, like that. Okay, and maximal file size you can give the maximum file size. Suppose that you have given a maximum file size as 2 MB, so it will just make the file of 2 MB first, and after that if the data is left, then it will create another file with that MB, 2 MB, 2 MB. Okay, suppose that you have a big data in our table and it is having 10 MB data. Okay, so it will just make separate files for 2 MB. Okay, so like that you can use this property maximum file size. Okay, and it is include query id. Okay, it specifies whether to uniquely identify unload files by including a universally unique identifier. Okay, so this is for the query id. Suppose that you want uniquely suppose that uniquely query id means as you can take an example of primary key. Okay, so in the primary key it also uniquely identifies the records in a table. So like that way it will just unload a single file. Okay, it will you can see it is written here, specifies whether to uniquely identify unload files by including universally unique identifier. It will just uniquely identify by this the identifier. Okay, so this is about include query id, and this is for the detailed output. If you will give this detailed output equals to true, then it will show all these paths in the console, that all these information in the console, that how many rows are loaded, how many you can see here rows unloaded, input bytes and output bytes. Okay, so now you will see all these information, and you can see the path that where your file, your data of the table is unloaded. Okay, so whenever you will give detailed output value is equals to true boolean value, then it will just show the path and all these things. Okay, as you are maybe you worked on that spring. Okay, then suppose that in spring also there is one option to see all those queries data into our console. Okay, so if you will give this boolean value is equals to true, then it will just load the show you that those details in the console as well. Then you can read from there and you can better understand those things. Okay, so these are some of the options, some of the properties of the unloading which are available to us, and you can use these options according to your need. Okay, whatever you want. Suppose that you want to override, so you can use override value equals to true, like that you can use those things. Okay, so in today's video we will discuss all about the unloading data to the external cloud storage. Okay, and after in our next session we will discuss about unloading data to the internal stage. Okay, because taking those two things in the same session is not possible, and the session will be more big. Okay, so that's not a good thing. Okay, so in this session we will discuss about unloading data to the external cloud storage. Okay, and for the external cloud we are using AWS S3, Amazon Web Services, S3 bucket, simple storage service we will use in this for unloading the tables data. Okay, so we will discuss all about unloading data to the external cloud storage location in this session, and after in upcoming session we will discuss for the internal stages as well. Okay, sorry guys. So first of all, what we have to do, we have to just create an storage integration object. Okay guys, and if you don't know about the storage integration object, then I have already created a session on this storage integration object, and I have done the integration of AWS S3 with this Snowflake, and I have done the loading also from the external stages AWS S3 to the Snowflake. Okay, so you can watch those sessions and you can understand about this storage integration and for the configurations. Okay, so here we will just see these things, storage integration, how to create these things. Okay, because we have discussed all those things in the previous session in the loading part from the external stages. Okay, so you can watch those sessions. The link will be given in the description box. Okay, so first of all we will just create this storage integration object, and let me quickly summarize this. Okay, so this is basically the storage integration name, and this is external stage. Okay, because we are working on the AWS S3, and you can give the here storage provider S3 and it is enabled, so that's why I have given the boolean value true, and we are just exchanging the ARN. This is basically the ARN of the created role which I have created in our previous session for this AWS S3. So I have just copied this ARN from the AWS S3 and I have just pasted here, and after that for the integration you have to just describe your this integration, and you have to copy your ARN of the Snowflake, and you have to paste on the tested policies on your AWS S3 as well. Okay, So this is basically the integration part. Okay, so integration we have already done in the previous session. Okay, if you don't know that how to integrate, then you can watch my previous session. The link will be given in the description. Okay, and this is storage allowed locations. Okay, so let me show you those. So guys, you can see this is the path, and we have this sky bucket 01. This is a bucket, and we have all these folders available to us. Okay, so we will just give this permission. Okay, so we are giving the permission for loading this sky bucket pipes folder and pipes folder. Okay, so what we have created new folder, we have this unloading folder, so we will just give the permission to unloading folder as well. Okay, we will just unload all the data into this unloading table only, and this is just a comment. Okay, for reference. Okay, so let me create an storage integration object again. Okay, so you can see storage integration object is now successfully created. Or if you have already this storage integration object, so you can just alter your storage integration object by this command. Okay, I have written this command as well, this query as well, for altering your storage previous storage integration. Okay, you can alter your storage integration by this way, alter storage, and after that integration name, and you can set your allowed location. Suppose that I have created one another folder. Okay, suppose that I want to give permission to this CSV folder as well. Okay, so for CSV, what we will do, we will just write here, let me remove these things, and we will just alter by just typing here CSV. Okay, and let me execute this, then you will understand that now we have this storage integration is now having permission for accessing this pipes folder, unloading folder, and this CSV folder as well. Okay, so we can access this CSV folder, pipes folder, unloading folder from the Snowflake. Okay, so this is about storage integration, that how can you create. Okay, so let me show you this unloading folder first. Okay, so you can see this is my unloading folder, and you can see this is the path. Okay, and we have no any objects, no any file in this unloading folder, because I have now created this unloading folder for just unloading all the data into this. Okay, so so that you can better understand those things. Okay, so now my storage integration is ready. Now we will just unload the data for the table into our stage. Okay, so let me first of all create a file format object, and let me show you the file. Okay, so which file we will load, we can load this big data as well, or we will just load this customer underscore PSV file. Okay, it is having 10,000 rows. You can see here 10,000 rows, and size is 481 KB. Okay, so what we will do, we will just load this customer underscore PSV file data into our external stage. Okay, so first of all let me create a file format. Okay, create or replace a file format. This is basically the syntax for file format. Okay, let me type create or replace, and after that you have to type a file format. And for file format, let me giving name as unloading ff, and we will just give type equals to CSV, and the field delimiter as it is a okay guys, we will not take this PSV file, we will just take this big data only. Okay, because we will work on PSV file in another video, because here you can unload this PSV file as well. Okay, let me unload this file only. Okay, field, and we will just give a delimiter. Here we have to, as it is a PSV file, so we will just give here pipe symbol. Okay, and if it is having a CSV comma separated, so you can give here a simply comma. Okay, so and this doesn't matter, you can give this PSV or CSV. Okay, and if you are giving this field delimiter is pipe symbol, then it is obvious that it is a PSV file, pipe separated value. Okay, and let me skip the header as well, because headers are having the column names. Okay, skip header equals to 1. Okay, and you can skip header, or you can give skip header equals to 0. Okay, so let me give skip header equals to 0, then we will see the column names as well in our file, which we will unload data from this table. Okay, and let me give the another property as well, empty, for this empty field as null. Okay, let me specify this property, and it will be true. Okay, so empty field is null. Okay, so let me just quickly create the file format. Okay, so you can see my file format is now successfully created, and now we will just create a stage, and after that we will unload this data into our stage. Okay, create a stage. Okay, so let me write the syntax for create or replace stage, and let me give the name as unload stage. Okay, we will just give name is it as unload stage, and after that you have to give the URL as well, because you are working with the external stage. Okay, so for the URL let me copy this URL and let me paste this URL there as well. Okay, so let me copy this, and I have copied it successfully, and we have successfully pasted it here. And let me remove one quotes, and after that you have to specify your storage integration as well. Okay, so for storage integration you have to just specify the storage integration, and my storage integration name is this sky aws int. Okay, so we will just give here storage integration name, and we have to give the file format name as well. Okay, so file underscore format, and file format name is this, we have created unloading ff. Okay, so we will just give an file format name here. Okay, and let me execute this. So this will just create a stage. Okay, by this way we can create a stage. Okay, for creating a stage we have created the video. You can understand those things. Okay, what it is saying, it is not having permission, this sky aws int is not having permission to access this folder. Okay, so what we will give, we will just alter this, and we will just give this folder, unloading folder, permission to access. Okay, so we are just giving this permission, and let me create storage and alter this storage integration object. And now you can see my storage integration object is now altered, and now we will create an stage. Now you can see now my create is successfully created because we have just specified this permission here. Okay, that's why I have written this alter storage here, so that you can understand these things. Okay, so now my stage is successfully created. Okay, now we are ready to unload the data. Okay, so for unloading we will just use the copy command. Okay, copy command for unloading data to external stage. Okay, external stage. Okay, so for that let me use copy into, and after that we have used this copy command in our earlier videos, and we have seen in there we are just giving copy into, and after that we are loading the data from our internal or external stage and copying into the table. So that's why we are writing table name here. Okay, but here what we will do, here we will just specify our stage name, because we will just unload our data from the table into our stage. Okay, so my stage name is unload stage. Okay, so we will just give here copy into at the rate, we will just specify at the rate unload stage, and after that what it is saying, okay, let me overwrite changes, maybe some network issues, that's why this error came. Okay, so copy into stage name, and after that you have to give your table name. Okay, suppose that I want to unload the data from this customer underscore psv, so we will just type here customer underscore psv, and after that you have to give this okay, now what happened, now this is the basically the syntax for unloading as well. For loading you are just giving copy into table name from the stage name, but here what you are doing, here you are just unloading the data from the table, you want this table data to our external stage. Okay, so that's why you have to give here copy into this stage name, and from this a table name. Okay, so you will just unload the data to your stage from the table. Okay, so what we will do, we will just execute this, and now you will see here, let me show you the folder as well. Okay, so you can see I am here in this sky bucket unloading folder. Okay, and we don't have any objects, we don't have any file in this folder. Okay, and whenever we will execute this, then it will just unload that file data into our stage. Okay, and let me execute this. Okay, so what it is showing, customer underscore psv. Okay, it is not authorized. Okay, so let me give here database name dot schema name as well. Okay, because here by default it is taking this unload ext schema. Okay, this schema unload ext. Okay, so that's why we have to specify this database name dot schema name as well. Okay, okay, so let me execute this once, and let's see that it is unloading the data or not. Okay, so now you can see it has successfully unloaded 10,000 rows. Okay, and in the psv file we have 10,000 rows. You can see here customer psv, it is having 10,000 rows and size is 481 kb. Okay, so now it has just successfully unloaded this 10,000 rows, and you can see bytes and input bytes and output bytes as well. Okay, so let me refresh this stage sky bucket, and let me refresh this unloading folder, and now you will see here files. Okay, so you can see we got this data underscore 00.csv.gzip. Okay, and if you don't want this gzip, then you can give auto compress equals to false there. Okay, so you can see here, okay, we got this file in here, and we have successfully unloaded the data of this table customer underscore psv into our external stage. Okay, you can see this. Okay, so this is basically the file which came into our snowflake aws s3 bucket. Okay, you can see this, this is some of the url and arn name, amazon resource name as well. Okay, so let me move back again, and let me try to unload from some different properties as well. Okay, so what happened, let me list the stage as well. Okay, so let me just list the stage. For listing we will just use a list at the rate and the stage name, and let me execute this. Okay, so now you will see here one file. Okay, so you can see we got this file in unloading folder. This is the file name which I have unloaded the data for this psv table. Okay, we have unloaded the data of this table customer underscore psv into this table, into this sorry, not into this table. We have successfully unloaded the data of customer underscore psv table into our stage name is unloading. Okay, so we you can see here one file. Okay, by this data underscore name. And guys, here what happened, here we haven't given the this file name any, so that's why it has used by default data underscore 00. Okay, and suppose that you want to specify one name. Okay, so let me tell you by that as well, that how can you specify the name. Okay, so for specifying the name, let me copy this thing as well, and let me suppose that you want your file name should be any customer. Okay, suppose that because my table name is customer. Okay, so you can give here by forward slash, and you can type any name. Okay, suppose that you want your file name should be customer. Okay, so your file name will be created by this customer only. Okay, and now let me execute this, and whenever you will execute this, then it will not unload the data. Why it will not unload the data? Because there is a one file which is already there. Okay, and maybe it will work also, and you can just specify the override property as well. Okay, and let me show you the override property as well. Okay, now it will unload the data by this customer name. Okay, the file name will be customer. Okay, so you can see here rows unloaded 10,000. We have successfully unloaded this 10,000 rows. Okay, and let me refresh this once, and now you will see here one more file with this customer name. Okay, so you can see here we got one file customer underscore 001. So by this way you can specify your file name as well, whatever file name you want. Okay, so you can specify this as well. Okay, and we have understand one more property here. We have done we have let me use these properties one by one. Okay, so we will just use override. Okay, so for override, let me first of all use that property for which property, maximum file size. Okay, so let me copy this again and paste, and by this time what we will do, we will just give here maximum file size. Okay, maximum file underscore size. Okay, maximum underscore file equals to size, and we will just give here 2 MB. Okay, so this is, I think, yeah, this is now 2 MB. Okay, so we will just execute this, and now this time it will not load the data because my customer name is already there. Okay, so we have to use this override property as well. Okay, okay, so you can see file already existing at this stage. By this it is saying to use override option. Okay, so by this way you can specify the override property as well. Okay, so for override we will just write here override equals to true, so it will now just replace the old file with the new file, as you are just doing in your local machine. Whenever you are copying any file with the same name into any location, then it is asking to replace the file in the destination or skip the file. Okay, like that options your windows is showing you. Okay, so this is like that only. So we are just specifying override property, and let me run this. Okay, now it will run, and it will successfully unload the data. You can see here we have rows unloaded 10,000, and you can see of the input bytes and output bytes as well. Okay, And now let me refresh this once, and now you will see here one file with this customer name. Okay, and we have seen this file customer underscore 0. So this file is successfully just replaced by that new name. Okay, and you can see here size is just 2 MB. We haven't got 2 3 files. Okay, because we have just this file customer underscore PSV. We are unloading this file and its size is just 481 KB. Okay, you will understand this maximum file size property in a table which is having a more data. Okay, we will discuss that thing as well. Okay, so this is about maximum file size property and override property. Okay, and let me tell you that property as well for a single as well. Okay, and you this is for override and these things. Okay, and let me tell you about this single property as well. It will create just a single file. Okay, and as well as whenever you are not specifying the or that single property equals true, still it is creating a single file. But whenever you will unload the data of any big table which is having a very big data of 100 MB 200 MB or like that, then you have to specify the single property as well. Okay, so what we will do, we will just change the name this time custom, and we will just use all the properties maximum file size override equals to single equals to true. Okay, so it will just create a single file. Okay, by the new name custom. Okay, let me execute this and we will see one more file there custom. Okay, and now you can see the status rows successfully unloaded 10,000. Okay, so let me move to the AWS S3 bucket and let me refresh this. Now you will see here one file with the custom name. Okay, so you can see I got this file custom name, and you can see this is also successfully loaded, and you can see the size of all these files is same 426.1 KB for all these 3 files. Okay, so we have just loaded the data first file this data without specifying any name, and we have loaded this file by giving the name and by using the override property and single equals true by this custom. Okay, so by this way you can specify maximum file size, override equals to true, single equals to true, and you can use all those properties as well. Okay, and now one property is left, that is override. Okay, and for override as well, let me copy this and paste this again. Okay, and for that output as well, detailed output, let me use this property as well, detailed output equals to true. Okay, detailed outputs equals to true. So whenever you are just loading the data unloading the data by this detailed output equals to true, without this detailed output true, so that's it is showing like that only. Okay, and whenever you will use this property, then what it will show, let me execute this, then you will understand. Okay, so you can see it has showed this file name is custom and file size is this and row count is this. Okay, so it has shown this data about a file name as well. Okay, and whenever you will work with the internal stages, then it will show the path as well. Okay, whenever you will give detailed output is equals to true. So this is all about these are 4 properties: maximum file size, override, single, and detailed output. Okay, so you can use these properties according to your need. Okay, so here we are using this which properties, let me write here as well. Okay, we are using maximum file size and override. Okay, and here what we are using, here we are using this single property, and here we are using this detailed output. So we have used all the properties. Okay, detailed output as well. Okay, so detailed output equals to true, we are specifying this property here. Okay, so this is all about and let me check we will check later on. Okay, so this is all about that how can you unload the data from your Snowflake tables to the external stages. Okay, and let me list the stage now, and let me see how much files we have in our stage. Okay, list at the rate, and my stage name is unload stage. Okay, so we will just copy the name and let me execute this. Okay, so now you will see here we have three files and 3 rows. Okay, so you can see we have this unloading folder, and this is a custom, and this is file, and this is data file. Okay, so we have successfully unloaded these three data files from this our table, which is customer underscore PSV table. Okay, and for unloading, let me tell you one thing as well. Whenever you will unload the data, then it will not take the data, means it is not deleting the data from your table, it is just unloading the data, it is just copying the data from your table into the file. Okay, this is not like that this will delete the data from your table. Okay, so it will not delete the record from your table, it will just take the copy from the table and it will load them to the external stage or the internal stage. Okay, so this is all about the unloading the data from the Snowflake tables to the external stage, means we are using here external stage AWS S3 bucket. Okay, and if you don't know how to create this external AWS S3 bucket like that, you can watch my previous session, and there I have discussed about how to create your free trial AWS S3 bucket account and all these things, AWS account. Okay, so this is all about the unloading part, and for the single is equals to true, you will better understand when there will be a file of big data. I told you for 5 MB 10 MB, and you will better understand this 20,000 this 2 MB size as well. Okay, because if the file will be suppose that you have data in your table with this 10 MB size, then it will take this it will take this data, and it will just take 2 MB files, and it will create separate files for just 2 MB. Okay, and it will whenever you are giving the single equals to true, then it will take all the data and it will specify, and it will unload all the data into the single table. Okay, whether the file size is 100 MB or 200 MB. Okay, so like that you can use these properties. Okay, so this is all about the unloading part. The main thing is just you have to give here copy into stage name, and after that the table name from which table you want to copy. Okay, so this is all about the unloading data to the external cloud storage locations from the Snowflake tables. Okay, and for unloading the data to the internal stage from the local machine to the local machine, we will create another session. The link will be given in the description box. You can watch that another session for unloading the data to the internal stage. Okay, there you have to learn some of the commands such as get commands and all this. Okay, so to get the file into your local machine. Okay, so internal stage is very important, because sometimes we have to work on the internal stage, and we have to unload the data from any table to our internal stage and to our local machine. Okay, so internal stage is very important. Okay, so please watch my that video also for learning the concepts of unloading into the internal stage. Okay, so that's all about unloading video, and meet you soon in the next very interesting tutorial, and where we will discuss about all the practicals, and we will do the practical for unloading the data from the Snowflake tables to the internal stage, and we will learn about some commands as well, because unloading to the internal stage we have to use some of the commands. First of all, we have to unload the data from our Snowflake table to the internal stage, and after internal stage you have to just download that file from the internal stage to your local machine. Okay, so there are two steps for unloading in the internal stage. Okay, so we will discuss that in the upcoming video. Okay, so that's all for today's session.